Hi guys, it's me ChazzaHD and welcome to qualifying day for the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. Great to see you all here for qualifying day. Qualifying, I think, after practice 2 and practice 3 is going to be good. It's going to be very close in the midfield and we might have some interesting changes at the top in qualifying today. Hopefully, it's a lot more competitive at the top for pole position today. We'll see, of course, in about an hour's time. But yeah, great to see everyone here as always. And if you are new, great to see you as well. And no matter where you are today in the world, hopefully you're having a very good Saturday. What is for me now a Saturday evening. But yeah, qualifying underway in just under 1 hour. But we had a very interesting result from practice 3 earlier on. And if you don't know what it was, let me now show you what it actually was. So, Sebastian Vettel was fastest for Ferrari, Charles Leclerc in second, Lewis Hamilton was third, Valtteri Bottas was fourth with Verstappen fifth, Gasly sixth, Ricciardo seventh, Norris eighth, Perez ninth and Kvyat 10th. And then outside the top 10, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Sainz, Albon, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Grosjean, Russell, Kubica and Stroll. Stroll was at the back because he had, I think, a hydraulic issue in practice 3. But yeah, very interesting session. And by those times, it looks as though we might have a fight for pole position between more than one team, between possibly 4 drivers. It would be great if we had that, but I don't think necessarily that is absolutely going to happen. But of course, you never know in Formula 1, anything can happen. And let's hope it does happen later on. But now, let's get into previewing the teams and start off with Mercedes, who, in practice so far, they haven't been absolutely fantastic or anything like that, but I still think Mercedes are the favourites for pole position because I still think they are holding something back. They are still very quick. You have to remember that. Even though Ferrari in practice 2 and in practice 3 were fast, Mercedes still have a very quick car. And I think one part of why Mercedes might be sandbagging is, of course, they have a completely new power unit for this Grand Prix, and they don't want to blow it to bits in practice. So I think that is probably why, if they are sandbagging, that's probably why they are. And I think they are sandbagging to a degree compared to what they could do if they are forced to be as quick as they can go. But again, I think they are favourites of pole. Both of their drivers are very good at this track, very good. You could argue that this is the best track on the calendar for both of these drivers. This team tends to be very quick here. Look at the past, they do tend to be very quick at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. And I would not bet against Mercedes for pole position. I really wouldn't. Yes, Ferrari look quick, but this is Mercedes we are talking about. And we've seen plenty of times in 2019 that coming into qualifying, you know, other teams have been looked at as the most probable team or driver for pole position, and they've ended up not getting it. And Mercedes have ended up getting it when they've even come out and said themselves that they don't think they are the favourites. So, yeah, don't bet against them because, as we know, when it matters most, they tend to produce the pace that is needed. But talking of Ferrari, let's go on to them now. Ferrari, very quick in practice 2 yesterday and in practice 3. I'm not denying Ferrari do have a fast car, but I just don't think they will have a quick enough car when it matters. But also, even if Ferrari do have just about enough speed to get pole position, I don't trust Ferrari at all to actually do so, because look at how terrible Ferrari have been this season in terms of getting the best result they possibly can. They've rarely done so. At every single race this season, they have done or committed some kind of mistake which has led to them finishing in a more worse position than they should have finished in. So I really don't trust Ferrari to actually get pole today. It would be great if they did, because I think it would really enable a good race tomorrow in Montreal. And I think we definitely would have a great battle for the victory between Bottas, Hamilton, Leclerc and Vettel if Ferrari are as quick as they showed in practice 2 and practice 3. But again, this is Ferrari. And if you are a Ferrari fan, do not get ahead of yourselves, because again, this team will disappoint. They always do, and they always find a way to mess things up. So do not place any bets on them. Don't get your hopes up that Ferrari are going to, get pole position or a front row lockout, because again, this is Ferrari. You know what they're like, and we know what they are capable of for all the wrong reasons. But next up in the top teams is Red Bull. Red Bull, they're going to be third fastest. The best they can hope for is P5 and P6 on the grid with Max Verstappen and Pierre Gasly respectively. After practice 2 yesterday, I did actually think that Pierre would be, struggling compared to his teammate and be in the midfield, but it seems as though in practice 3, his pace did improve. Now, we'll see in qualifying whether he can continue that, but I still think Pierre does run the risk of ending up in the midfield pack and quite a bit behind his teammate Max Verstappen in terms of lap time. But for Red Bull, if they can score a P5 and a P6 on the grid, then that is good enough, because they're not going to qualify any higher. They don't have enough speed on the straights to get onto the second row or the front row or pole position. They just don't have it. We knew this track was not going to be Red Bull's best. We knew that. So again, third row lockout, and I think that'd be a good enough day's work for Red Bull Racing. But guys, let me know right now in the live chat, for the top teams, what do you think and what do you expect from these teams, and what do you think will happen for these teams in qualifying? For Mercedes, do you think, like me, that they are kind of sandbagging and that they will end up still getting pole position when it matters most? Or do you think they're actually under threat for pole? For Ferrari, can they get pole and the front row and actually produce the pace that they can, actually showing, can they get the result that they should get with the pace they do have? Or do you think they will disappoint yet again? And for Red Bull, they're going to be on the third row, to be honest. But with Pierre Gasly, do you think, guys, that he runs the risk of ending up in the midfield pack? Let me know in the live chat right now, and for the next probably 10 minutes or so, I'll try to read out the best comments I can, and then we'll move on to the midfield as we continue the build up towards qualifying in Canada. But just before I do, just want to say, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as we do watch-alongs for every Grand Prix in 2019. And on this website this weekend, this is the only place to catch watch-alongs for the Canadian Grand Prix. So don't forget to subscribe for that and the race watch-along tomorrow. Bottom right of the screen, you can subscribe right there, or click on my channel name, go to the homepage and subscribe and hit the notifications bell. And also don't forget to hit this video with a like. But guys, I'll quickly take a drink to keep my throat in the best condition, and then I'll come to you guys in the chat. Right, let's see what you guys have to say. And by the way, great to see so many of you here already. 150 of you already tuning in. Great to see every single one of you here. It really, really is. But now let's get into to reading some comments. Robert says Mercedes are the masters of sandbagging. Yeah, they are. If you look at this season, Mercedes tend to sandbag the most out of the top 3 teams in terms of what kind of pace they show during practice and testing. Ferrari tend to be a bit better in practice compared to how they are actually in qualifying and the Grand Prix. So that's why I say don't think Mercedes are not going to get pole, because they are still going to be very, very strong. Right, let me read some more comments. Vad Derpy Muffin says, Speed Traps Mercedes were not in the top 10. They are holding back a lot. Yeah, they definitely are. They're definitely holding back performance. I don't have any doubt about it. I think Ferrari, this is the thing, even though I think Mercedes are going to show a lot more speed once we get to qualifying in just under an hour, Ferrari is still going to be close. So the two drivers have got to make sure they don't make any key mistakes like Lewis Hamilton did in practice 2 yesterday. Because if they do, then there could be a Ferrari on the front row, no doubt about it. So it's going to be close. It's definitely going to be close. I'm not doubting that, but I think Mercedes are still the favourites here in Canada. Right, let me read some more comments. Simon Craglan says, first qualifying in 3 years. I don't see live. Well, don't worry. I'll keep you up to date as to the absolute second as to what is going on track. Ben McCarthy says, Red Bull Racing are looking at race pace. They're using harder compounds more. Yeah, and that is because they know that in terms of one lap pace, they're not going to beat Ferrari and Mercedes. And that is definitely the case. They're not going to. But when it comes to the race, as we know from the last couple years, Red Bull tend to be a lot stronger on race day and tend to have one of the best cars on the grid on race day. So I think Red Bull are really concentrating on getting the setup right for the race, because they know that if they can, use the tyres right, that are going to be very interesting, to see how they perform on Sunday. If they can use the tyres correctly and have the right setup, they could be contending for a podium tomorrow, no doubt about it. So yeah, Red Bull, they'll just hope that they can get that third row and then build from there like they normally do. Because as we know, Red Bull don't really tend to be that strong or really noticeable in qualifying. On race days where Red Bull truly does come alive. Right, let me find some more comments. Let's go, Red fellas, it's time. Scott1888 says, Mercedes pole by 0.8 of a second because Ferrari are favourites. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying to people, that don't think Ferrari are going to get pole because of what's happened so far, because we know what Mercedes can do when they really have to turn everything up. And if you look at this season, Mercedes only tend to really push as hard as they can in Q3, and maybe the only run in Q2. They don't push really anywhere near as close as what they can do in practice, and definitely not in the race. So yeah. Nicola Fox says, this track always favoured Ferrari this year, just don't know, hope it's not a Mercedes on pole. I do hope, by the way, that Ferrari are maybe not on pole, but they're right there with Mercedes in terms of pace, because it would hopefully set us up for a great race tomorrow. And that is, of course, what we want, a great competitive race for victory. That's all we want. Right, let me find a few more and then I'll move on to the midfield. Nib, great to see you, by the way. If you don't know, Nib will be on the race watch along tomorrow, just to let you guys know. He says, well, didn't expect to be this excited for a quali at 4 AM. Hopefully Ferrari can deliver and produce a great session. Yeah, hopefully they can and make it very exciting at the top. But I think even if Ferrari disappoint, I think it will be very interesting in that midfield, because from 18th to 7th, anything can happen in terms of who makes it into Q2, Q3, who surprisingly gets knocked out in Q1 and Q2. It's going to be very, very interesting in that midfield, as I said a minute ago, as we'll get onto in just a moment. Right, let me find a couple more comments. Seirugara saying Cyril a beat ball out. I wouldn't quite say that yet. Let's give Cyril some time. Right, let me find. Fish Lips says, lol, people still think Ferrari be in the mix. In terms of pole position, well, we'll see. But I have found it quite funny that there are still people out there that think Ferrari, in the drivers or constructors, still have a chance of winning the championship, because they don't. They have no chance, Ferrari, of winning the world championship. And I did find it actually quite amusing that Sebastian Vettel on Thursday, I think it was, said we need to improve our car in the next few races if we're to truly compete for the world championship. And I was sat there thinking, your world championship bid ended in Baku. There is no world championship bid. So I don't understand what Sebastian is on about, because again, the world championship for Ferrari is completely over. What they need to do, Ferrari, for the rest of the season is just go out there, give it the roll, and hope they can get a couple race victories for themselves. But yeah, there's no way Ferrari are in any world championship battle. The world championship this season, in the drivers, it's between Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas, and the constructors, for me, is already wrapped up in Mercedes' favour. But right, I'll read out a final comment, and then we will get to the midfield. Crystal Racing, I'll read out this comment as the final one, and yeah, kind of echoing what I'm saying. Toto Wolff believes Ferrari and Vettel are still championship contenders. He's only saying that to make Ferrari feel a bit better about themselves, and to feel like they're actually closer to Mercedes than they actually are. Ferrari and Vettel and Leclerc, they're not contending for a world championship this year. No way at all. But yeah, I'll come back to you guys soon enough. But I think now we'll get into that midfield. So, first up, Renault. In practice too, Renault were pretty good. That was the best showing from Renault probably since Shanghai. And also in practice 3, Renault were pretty good as well. And yeah, it looks as though Renault are surprisingly good this weekend. And that is, of course, good news for all you Daniel Ricciardo fans out there. I know there's plenty of you, of course. Niblo is one of them. But yeah, Renault looking good. I don't think they'll get both cars into Q3. If they do get into Q3 and they can compete for that, I think realistically the best they can hope for, given the pace they have shown this weekend and how quick other teams are and other drivers are, I think realistically Renault are probably going to get one car into the top 10 and then another car will be, you know, P11, P12. I don't think both cars will get into the top 10. It would be great for them if they did get both cars into the top 10, because that would be a massively great response to Renault's last 3 races, which in terms of results have not quite been good enough. So hopefully for Renault, they do go out there and show us the pace that they have shown this weekend, and they don't disappoint and start to respond to their midfield rivals in that Constructors' Championship battle. Because if they, you know, don't score any points this weekend, and a team like McLaren and / or Haas get some good points, then Renault are going to start falling away. So it's a big day today, and also tomorrow is a big day for Renault, as Renault need to desperately respond to their midfield rivals. Next up is McLaren, of course, the team that is P4 in the Constructors by about 13 points from Racing Point. And McLaren this weekend are looking quick. They look like they could have possibly the best car in the midfield. I don't know for sure if they will have that, but they are definitely right there to have that type of car. No doubt about it. I don't think they will be, say, with both drivers on the fourth row of the grid, but I think a driver, for example, like Carlos Sainz, I think he really could be a dark horse in qualifying today, and I think he will definitely be hovering around P7 and also P8 on the grid, because despite practice 3 this weekend, Carlos has been very quick, and McLaren, when their drivers have, got the best out of their car, that car really has shown some very good speed indeed. So hopefully for McLaren, their drivers can go out there, don't make any critical mistakes, and can get the best out of the car that they can. Because if they do, I think a good result is in for them today, and also a good result is in for them this weekend, because they do have also a very quick car in terms of race pace as well. So yeah, McLaren looking very good as they just get better and better as 2019 goes on. Next up is Alfa Romeo. Alfa, they show glimpses of possibly being good at times, but most of the time this weekend they just haven't really showed enough to be strong contenders, in the top 10 or in and around 10th place. They just, again, they haven't shown enough for me to really say that Alfa are going to be strongly in that fight for getting into the top 10. And Alfa this weekend, if you look at practice, they look to be, on a consistent basis, the slowest midfield team. Now, that could change in qualifying in the same way in Monaco. They were great in practice, and then in qualifying, they dropped back massively. That could change, but I don't think it will. I don't think it will, because I think, in Monaco, I think that's where they were genuinely in terms of speed. And I think in Canada, they're again struggling around a very tight street track. And it is a bit of a surprise, to be honest, because I thought at this type of track, Alfa would be, say with Kimi Räikkönen, I thought they would be nicely in that top 10, probably both cars in and around 10th place, but they don't really seem to, again, on a consistent basis, really be anywhere near that. So not looking good for Alfa going into qualifying. Hopefully they can improve, but if they do end up qualifying where they've been in the last 2 practice sessions, then this season really is going massively downhill for the Alfa Romeo team. Next up is Haas, who have had quite a weird weekend. They do have a quick car. This is the weird thing. They have a quick car, but the drivers, they're not getting the best out of the car so far this weekend on a consistent basis. It's very weird. For example, Kevin Magnussen is at times very quick, but at times is a bit off it. But then you have Romain Grosjean, for example, who's really nowhere in terms of pace. So it's really weird what Haas are doing this weekend. Again, we can see that they do have the speed, but their drivers are just struggling to get it out of the car. Maybe, again, it is coming down to the tyres and not being able to warm up the tyres appropriately. Maybe it's that. But, again, they have the pace in the car. They're just not getting it out of the car. And in qualifying, I think if they do, with their drivers, if they do get the best out of the car that they can based on the conditions and how their car is responding to those conditions on the tyres, I think Haas can be, say, like a Renault or a McLaren, getting one car into the top 10 and then one car narrowly missing out. But you just don't know with this team. They're very all over the place, very inconsistent. And they could literally do anything in qualifying today. They're that all over the place right now in Formula One, and really, you have to say, this weekend. But next up is Toro Rosso. Better pace this morning from Toro Rosso than they showed yesterday. Yesterday, they were a bit slower than I was expecting. I think in practice too, they were P14 and P15, which again is a bit slower than I was expecting. I thought they would be, say, around P11, P12 in terms of position. So a bit disappointing yesterday for Toro Rosso, but in practice 3, their car looked a bit better. Hopefully, that means that the Toro Rosso car will be nice and competitive for a possible top 10 finish. Will it be competitive for a top 10 finish? Realistically, I don't think so. I think the only way a Toro Rosso gets into Q3 is if one of their drivers pulls out of a near perfect qualifying lap in Q2. That's the only way I see them getting into Q3. Realistically, they're going to end up between P11 and P14, which is not too bad considering that this track isn't really suited to their type of car. But of course, based on the last couple races, they would have been hoping for better here, because in Spain and Monaco, they were very, very quick. So yeah, Toro Rosso, they'll be in there for the top 10, possibly, but don't expect anything dramatically great from them like they showed in Monaco, for example, or even Baku. Next up is Racing Point, and I am pleased to announce that Racing Point are basically back to where they, you could argue, should be and where they were before the Spanish and Monaco Grand Prix. They look very quick now at this Canadian Grand Prix track. Not a massive surprise that they have improved from how they were performing in Spain and Monaco, but they are performing even more better than they were expected to from my point of view coming into this weekend. I thought, for example, a driver like Sergio Perez, I thought he would be good here, but I didn't think he would be consistently getting in that top 10 like he was yesterday, and he did, I believe, this morning. So Racing Point looking a bit better than expected, and that is good news for them, because even though the last 2 races have been bad, they are still P5 in the Constructors, meaning that if they can have a strong weekend from now on, they could start to haul in McLaren possibly, and really, you know, march on in a strong fashion in the Constructors' Championship going forward. But in qualifying, I think Sergio Perez, I think he'll probably will get into the top 10. But for Lance Stroll, don't bet on him getting anywhere near the top 10, because he is, when it comes to qualifying, I don't know what it is, but he is a terrible qualifying driver. He cannot get the speed out of the car when it matters in qualifying, and has been knocked out, I believe, in Q1 every time this season so far. So don't expect anything in qualifying from the home driver Lance Stroll. I think in terms of race pace, Lance will be very quick on race day. But yeah, in qualifying, don't expect anything. But for Perez, again, kind of like Carlos Sainz, he could be a dark horse at the front of that midfield battle. And then, of course, at the back is Williams. Nice to report, though, that Williams are a bit closer to the back of the midfield than they have been in the past couple races. So Williams are improving, but they are still, of course, crap. But with half an hour to go, guys, until qualifying starts, let me know right now in the live chat, for the midfield, what do you think will happen, and who do you expect to be quick and not so quick in qualifying for today? Do you think Renault and McLaren will continue their good weekend so far? Do you think Alpha will continue to disappoint, because they really have so far this weekend? Do you think Haas can get the best out of their car? Do you think Toro Rosso can get into the top 10, or do you think it's unlikely? And for Racing Point, do you think they can respond nicely today in qualifying with a good result? And do you think Lance Stroll is going to make it out of qualifying 1? Let me know right now in the live chat. And for the next 10 minutes or so, I'll read out your comments. And then we will get on to my predictions for qualifying for the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix. But again, I'll have a quick drink of water and then I'll come back to reading your comments. All right, so let's see what you guys have to say. And by the way, great to see 253 of you watching live. Great to have you all here, and hopefully you are enjoying yourselves. And if you are, then don't forget to smash the like. Kurt Borman says, hi Chaz, I'm a bit late tonight. No problem. Qualifying hasn't started yet, so it doesn't really matter. But he says, wanted to know if you're sticking with your prediction from the preview show. You said Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel for the race and qualifying. I think Ferrari might get pole. Well, you will learn in about 10 minutes or so. I'm not going to say right now. I'll let you see in 10 minutes. But it's not really, gigantically different from what it was a week ago in the preview, which, by the way, if you haven't seen, me and Nib did a podcast previewing the Canadian Grand Prix last Saturday. So if you haven't seen it, make sure to check it out on the channel. Right, let me find some comments. Robert says Alpha looks very bad on development. The car during the season, yeah, they really are dropping back quite alarmingly. JB, I don't get why Haas are struggling with tyres this weekend. I thought they fixed those issues. I thought they did, not completely, but I thought they did mostly fix those issues, but I don't think they have. We'll see in qualifying whether it continues to crop up for them and really hurts their performance on the grid. Right, let me find some comments here. Marco, can Ferrari do it? Possibly. But I'm not betting on it because, again, this is Ferrari. They will find a way to mess up because they always do. They always find a way to mess it up and get a worse result than they should. Mr. Random Guy says Ricciardo has shown he is much better than Hülkenberg so far. Let's see if he can bounce back. Yeah, I have to say, I think Daniel Ricciardo has already proved something that I knew already. And I think most of you knew already that Daniel Ricciardo is clearly better than Nico Hülkenberg. I mean, the only times this season Hülkenberg has been better is the entire weekend in Melbourne and race day in Bahrain. Everywhere else, Ricciardo has been better, no doubt about it. And he has been better ever since the Chinese Grand Prix weekend. And there's no doubt who the best driver in the Renault team is. It is Daniel Ricciardo. Right, let me find some comments. Nicola Fox says both McLarens possibly in Q3. It would be great to see that if they did do that, but it's going to be very tight in that midfield. It's basically going to come down to, can the drivers produce that great final lap in Q2 to get through to the top 10? That's what it's going to come down to. And by the way, I have to say, the midfield this season has been the best it's been probably since 2012, 2013. It really has been mega close and really competitive, and it has basically come down to the drivers most of the time in terms of the results they get and where they end up in what particular race or session. Mr. Random Guy says Alpha is pretty trash so far. Maybe they will surprise. Let's hope. Right, let me find some more comments. Kurt Borman asks, do you think the big three are quick enough to use the medium tyre in Q2 to get through to Q3? I think Mercedes and Ferrari can do it, but I'm not so sure about Red Bull. Well, Red Bull will definitely not use the medium because they don't have that gap to the rest of the midfield. Ferrari and Mercedes, they could do it. They could pull off a medium tyre run in Q2, but it will depend on how the track ramps up in terms of grip as the session goes on, really, and how quick the midfield is in qualifying 1 and 2. So yeah, Ferrari and Mercedes, they could pull it off, but I'm not sure that they will absolutely go for that tyre and that they will be able to pull it off, because the medium, it's a good tyre around this track, but the soft tyre in qualifying is a lot better than the medium. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of the teams, or a couple of the top teams, Ferrari and Mercedes, I wouldn't be surprised if they split strategies possibly in the first run in Q2 to see if it's good enough for one driver to get through on the medium. Right, let me read out a couple more comments and then we'll get on to the predictions with 23 minutes to go. Crystal Racing says Williams could be Alpha again in the next few races. Dead serious. I wouldn't go that far. I think we have to remember, in Monaco, the Alpha car was definitely worse in Monaco than it has been so far this weekend in Canada. But also, you have to remember that certain things happen to put the Alfa Romeo drivers behind the Williams drivers, and also at Monaco, you can't really pass. So even if they were quicker, they couldn't get past them. If that happens in Canada, then the Alfa Romeos will get past the Williams cars, because you can definitely overtake at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. Right, let me find some comments. A couple more, then I'll move on. Tonka Toy Truck says he's keeping Pierre Gasly as his turbo driver on his fantasy team. By the way, we have a fantasy league. If you want to join it, the entry code is in the description just below my channel link. So if you want to join it, there's the entry code, and you can go join that and compete against the rest of us. Right, let me find a couple more comments. Crystal Racing says Lance Stroll has less enthusiasm than Kimi, and that is saying something. Yeah, he hasn't really been overly enthusiastic at his home race, has he? And Gina says, I do think McLaren will get both cars into the top 10 and not be that far off. Yeah, Gasly. Interesting. It would be massive progress for that team if they were to be not that far off Red Bull. It really would be massive progress for McLaren. And the final comment is from JB, who says the drivers in the midfield that will get through into Q3 will be Sergio Perez, Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz and Kevin Magnussen. I think the only driver I would have an issue with on that prediction is probably Kevin Magnussen. Because, again, Haas, they're kind of in a weird, situation. We don't know what they're going to do, but we'll see, of course, in 20 minutes time. But now, guys, let me get on to what I think will happen in qualifying today. My predictions for qualifying here in Canada, just to let you guys know, though, make sure to put your predictions in qualifying in the live chat for the next 20 minutes, and I'll try to read out as many as I can before qualifying gets underway. So yeah, make sure to mention them, and I'll read out as many as I can before qualifying starts. But if you did watch our podcast last Saturday, if you did, thank you very much. But also, you would have seen my predictions for qualifying and the race. And for qualifying, I am going for the exact same. So, on pole position will be, in my opinion, Valtteri Bottas, because he is very quick at this track. This is arguably Valtteri's best track on the calendar. He's always been very competitive here, even in his Williams days when the car was not that good. But also, you guys would have noticed that this season in qualifying, when it's mattered most, Valtteri has had a tendency to put in very, very good laps in qualifying in the final part of qualifying. And I think today he's going to do that again. He's going to put in a stunning first run and then will do enough to get pole position. If he does get pole, it will be his first pole position in Montreal. And if Mercedes do get a 1-2, it will be their fourth 1-2 in qualifying in Canada. The last time they had a 1-2 in qualifying in Canada was 2016. Hamilton, of course, ahead of Rosberg that day. In second place will be Lewis Hamilton. It's going to be very close between Bottas and Hamilton. It might be half a tenth, maybe even less than that for pole position. It's going to be very, very tight at the top. As we know, Lewis is very quick, but I don't think he'll have just about enough speed today. And really this season, it's been a theme of Lewis not always producing that great of a final attempt of qualifying, or a final attempt of getting pole position in qualifying. He hasn't been that great in qualifying this season. He has had a couple very good laps, for example, in Australia and Monaco. But yeah, this season, most of the time, he has kind of struggled. And I think today he will end up in P2. And also, he hasn't been, I think, as, say, comfortable looking as Bottas this weekend. Of course, Hamilton lost out quite a big amount of track time yesterday with that crash in practice 2. And I think that will have a slight effect on what happens today in qualifying. And then in third place will be Sebastian Vettel. I think Vettel is probably going to be probably a quarter of a second off pole. He will be close enough to put the two Mercedes drivers under pressure if they do make mistakes when it matters most in qualifying. But I don't see Sebastian Vettel getting pole position, because he has really struggled in that area, getting pole position for a long time. The last pole position he had was famously at Hockenheim in 2018. And we all know what happened the next day on race day. So I think when it comes to pole, I just don't see it. But for the second row, I think Ferrari are going to be comfortably on the second row of the grid. Third and fourth for their two drivers. Again, they won't be too far off Bottas and Hamilton, but I just don't think they'll have enough speed when it matters to get pole position. But if he was to get pole, it would be his fifth pole position, Sebastian Vettel, in Canada, and Ferrari are going for their second straight pole position in Montreal, because of course last year Sebastian got pole and went on to win the race. But as I said a minute ago, if Vettel was to get pole, it'd be his first pole since Hockenheim in 2018, and that is almost a year ago. Very long time ago, it feels, honestly. So we'll see what Ferrari can do today. Also, I just want to make this point. I'm hoping we do see, and I think we will see, a lap time under 1 minute and 10 seconds. I think we will have a under 70-second lap for pole position. I think they are going to dip in to to the 1 minute 9s, and it's going to be very exciting at the end of qualifying to see who exactly does get that pole position time and ends up on pole. But guys, right now in the live chat for the next 15 minutes, let me know, who do you think will get pole position for the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix? Who will finish in P2 and P3, P4, P5 and P6? What do you think will happen in the midfield? Let me know in the live chat, and again for the next 15 minutes I'll read out your comments as to who you think will finish where. But also just want to say, don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as we are going to be doing a watch along tomorrow for the race for the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix, around of course the same time of day. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or go to my homepage and subscribe and hit the notifications bell. And also don't forget to hit the like for more content like this. But I'll let you guys start putting your predictions in, and I'll take another drink and then we'll come to what you guys have to say. Right, so let's find the start of these predictions and let's read them out one by one. By the way, great to see 330 of you watching live. Great to have you all along. Right, so let's start with Hayden Cashin, who says Leclerc on pole, Hamilton second, Bottas third, Vettel fourth, and Verstappen in fifth. Killhouse, by the way, said that he's new around here, so great to have you along for the first time. He says Vettel on pole, Charles Leclerc second, Max Verstappen third. Yarish Raj, I think it is. I've absolutely butchered that name, but he says Max for pole. Tonka Toy Truck says Bottas on pole, Leclerc second, Lewis third, Max in fourth. Marco says Vettel on pole from Hamilton second. Let me just move pictures. There you go. Marco says Vettel on pole, Hamilton second, Leclerc third, Max fourth, and Bottas fifth. Pixel Double C says Williams not for last. Soul says Hamilton on pole, Leclerc second, and Bottas third. Tuna says Leclerc on pole, Bottas second, and Vettel third. Lots of different predictions today, and that's great to see. Right, let me find some more. Erudite, great to see you as a part of our Discord. By the way, if you haven't joined our Discord, link below in the description. That is the best place for notifications for my videos and streams, and that is the hardcore Chazza HDF1 community. And we have over 200 people in the server who are quite active. So yeah, don't forget to join that. Link below in the description. Erudite says Hamilton to get pole from Bottas second and Vettel third. Shalang says Hamilton on pole, Bottas second, Leclerc third, Max fourth, Gasly fifth, and Vettel sixth. And apparently they think that Vettel will make a mistake. Right, let me find some more. JB says, I'm going ambitious. Leclerc, Vettel, Bottas. Nice to see that. Christian Godolphin says Hamilton, Bottas, and the rest. Nib is making a change to his prediction, because I think for qualifying he went for the same prediction last week when we did the podcast. He's going for a new one. He says Leclerc on pole, Bottas second, Vettel third. Very interesting. And then Erudite, to complete his, says the rest of the top 10 will be Leclerc, Verstappen, Gasly, Ricciardo, Sainz, Magnussen, and Perez. Right, let me find some more. Vaderpy Muffin says, what will be pole for Formula 1.5, which of course is the rest of the field after Mercedes Ferrari Red Bull. I'm going to go Carlos Sainz for that. I'm going to go Carlos Sainz for pole position in Formula 1.5. Kurt Borman says Vettel on pole in his opinion, from Leclerc second, Bottas third, and says, I feel Ferrari have got a good car this weekend. They seem to have the power and the drag to be successful. Let's hope they can get it so we can have an exciting race tomorrow. As long as Ferrari and Mercedes are both close, no matter who finishes where, then I think we will have a good race tomorrow. So that is really the hope going into qualifying, that we get those two teams to be very close on lap time. There is, by the way, a Ferrari that could be on pole. Who knows? Right, let me find some more. Han Solo says quali Mercedes 1-2, Ferrari 3-4, and during the race Max will overtake one Ferrari and finish fourth. Crystal Lynn, I think it is, says Hamilton on pole, Vettel second, Bottas third. Vimbai says Leclerc on pole, Hamilton second, Vettel third. Again, it's great to see so many differences in who will finish in the top three compared to, say, Monaco. It is very good to see that. Right, let's find some more. Oh no, I've accidentally skipped past a few. Let me go back. Right. Is it Chian? I think it is. Chian says Bottas on pole, Leclerc second, Hamilton third. By the way, sorry if I mispronounced your name. I always do. Dexter Hull says Hamilton on pole, Bottas second, Leclerc third, Vettel fourth, Max fifth, Ricciardo sixth, and Gasly seventh. Robert says Lewis on pole, from Vettel second, Bottas third, Leclerc fourth. Have I read Gina's out? I don't know if I have, but I'll do it anyway. Bottas on pole, Hamilton second, Leclerc third, Vettel fourth, Max fifth, Sainz sixth, Norris seventh, Gasly eighth, and then says, I know, but there you go. Connor Chapman says, it's hard to say, but this is the strongest Ferrari has looked since Bahrain, so I'm going with Vettel on pole, Hamilton second, Leclerc third. Nick Dubbin, Williams 1-2. Carl Dini says Bottas on pole, Vettel second, Leclerc third. Good Luck King says Hamilton on pole, Bottas second, Vettel third. Peter King, Lewis on pole, Wingman second, Mad Max third, Leclerc fourth, and then Vettel in fifth. Neil Smith says Leclerc on pole, Hamilton second, Vettel third. Right, let me find some more. There's still plenty more. By the way, Carl Greenwald, if you look at the top left, you can see exactly what period we are currently in. So don't worry, got it covered there. Right, let me find Jungle Brother, great to see you, says Hamilton on pole, Leclerc second, Ricciardo third. That's very ambitious. Bottas fourth, Verstappen fifth, Vettel sixth, and Gasly, Perez, Magnussen, Kvyat. Find some more if I can. Also, let me move on to a different picture, as we are now just under 6 minutes away from qualifying. By the way, if you are new to the channel, I have to explain this because obviously people are new, but we cannot show qualifying live for obvious copyright issues. So what I do is I show as many pictures from the track. I have a graphic that shows a running order that is live, and 85% of the time I'd say is up to date with what's going on track, and also we'll have the timer in the top left that will be absolutely up to date with the time left in Q1, Q2 and Q3. And what I'll do is provide a radio commentary, and don't worry, I will keep every single one of you up to date as to what is going on track. So don't worry, you won't miss a thing with us here on Shazza HD F1. Right, I'm going to read out a couple more predictions, I think, and then we'll get ready for the start of qualifying. MCL 13 says Verstappen on pole, Bottas second, Hamilton third, Leclerc, Vettel, Sainz, Norris, Gasly, Ricciardo, Magnussen. Hello to Liam Ultra Racer. Just caught that comment. And the final prediction I can find is, and by the way, right, so it's Kian, not Sheehan, it's Kian. It's all good, it's pronounced like Kian. Okay. The last prediction I'll read out for the moment is from Gary McPherson, who says, hi, hello to you, Gary. He says his prediction is Hamilton on pole, Vettel second, and Max Verstappen in P3. But now, guys, we are 4 minutes away from the start of qualifying here in Montreal at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve along the Ile de Notre Dame. And I think we are in for an exciting session today. This is probably going to be one of the most exciting qualifying sessions of the season so far. Maybe the most. And remember, guys, if you remember back to last year, the 2018 qualifying session in Canada was the most exciting for me qualifying session of the season. So if it replicates itself, we are in for a great day of action in Montreal. But I'll make sure to get the all the graphics ready for you guys as we're seeing them showing the different zones of the track that we need to look out for, such as turn 1, the hairpin, and the final chicane / the Wall of Champions. Hello to Fabrice, great to see you. There we're seeing the tyre performance. By the way, this weekend we have the C5, C4 and C3 compound. And that will definitely have an effect on race day. If it is as hot as it is right now at the track on race day. But yeah, 2.5 minutes to go. Sorry guys if I've just come off. I believe the stream just momentarily stopped. Sorry about that. Don't worry, no issue. Definitely didn't panic then. But yeah, I'm back, I believe. Yep, we are back. That sometimes happens, so don't worry guys, that sometimes happens. It only happens normally for about 3 or 4 seconds. So yeah, don't worry about that. By the way, the weather where I am is not exactly at its best, so I probably should have warned you guys in the first place that yeah, the weather where I am is not, it's not ideal, but yeah, we'll soldier on anyway. But right, so now let's get into qualifying, which is about to start in 1 minute or 1 minute's time. Pictures I've got absolutely and yeah, Nib, bloody English weather at its finest. It's very, very windy and a bit rainy here in the UK. That's why the weather where I am is not too good. But as well, in the chat, make sure to tell me whether we are actually live. It'd be great if you guys could do that just to make sure. And I just got super chat from Bobby Pignard, who says, how does Ruben Barrichello still have the track record? Haven't the cars got faster since 2004? Yeah, the cars have got faster, but the issue is these days they don't push as hard as they did back then. So yeah, but qualifying is about to start right now, I believe. So I'm going to quickly just sort out the text. So remaining in Q1. And the timer I will get ready right now. I believe. And yeah, there you go. It's not absolutely to the second. It's about 2 seconds behind. But there you go. Am I definitely on, guys, or not? Because on my end, I'm definitely streaming, so I don't know. But we did have a drop off in viewership, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, if you are watching, by the way, make sure to just update the stream, and I'll be live again. So yeah, just make sure you update the stream, and you should be along with us in real time. But now I'll get this up. This is not the current order, by the way. This is the order from practice 2 yesterday. As at the moment, no cars are on track, which is very annoying, but there you go. As is someone coming out of the pit lane? Oh yeah, we do have a car. Who is it? It is a Williams of who is that? I think it's Robert Kubica. That's who it is. It is Robert Kubica in the Williams. Let me just quickly make that slight change there. Yeah, here comes Robert Kubica in the Williams on track. I'll quickly put a picture on screen for you guys to show you Kubica on circuit as he now comes through the first sector. Also, George Russell in the other Williams is now on circuit. So the Williams is getting out early, and so is Lance Stroll, of course, for obvious reasons, because he had a hydraulic issue in practice 3. But yeah, let me quickly show you guys Kubica coming onto track as yet Stroll now heads out the pit lane and into the first sector on his outlap. Here you go. That is Robert Kubica coming out on track as he's about to start his lap in just a moment. Also, we have the 2 Alfa Romeos on circuit. And now Kevin Magnussen as now, and who else have we got? We've got, so Robert Kubica has just started his first flying run as we're currently looking at the home driver, Lance Stroll, on circuit. Again, if anyone is watching live that was watching during the slight outage of the stream, just make sure to update the stream, just refresh the stream, and I will be live. So yeah, just make sure you update the stream and you will you'll all be up to date. But here comes Lance Stroll on his first run in Q1, and I'll quickly post a picture of Lance as he was about to come onto circuit, as he now comes up to turn 4 and turn 5. The car looking better than it has looked in the last couple races. You cannot doubt that whatsoever. The Racing Point has definitely improved in the last, or definitely improved compared to the last couple races. And here is Stroll when he was about to come onto circuit. Nice to see his issues from practice 3 were fixed, as Robert Kubica sets the first lap time, but that will be beaten very shortly by Lance Stroll and all the other drivers, and George Russell goes even faster as Stroll now comes up to the final chicane. And yep, Racing Point car looking a lot better than it was 2 weeks ago. And yep, Stroll goes fastest by 1.7 seconds. That's the scene right now at the circuit. As here comes Nico Hülkenberg in the Renault to start his first run. Hülkenberg this weekend has been not bad, but not as good as his teammate. Absolutely not as good as his teammate. And he does have to improve his pace, I think, does Hülkenberg this weekend. And really, at the moment in Formula 1 is Kimi Räikkönen in the Alfa Romeo goes fastest on a 1:13 flat. Kevin Magnussen now goes even faster on a 1 minute 12.7. Grosjean goes up to second. We've got the two Ferraris, by the way, on an outlap, as Hülkenberg is now coming up to the end of the middle sector and is 1/4 of a second down on Kevin Magnussen after the first two sectors. So this will probably put him into I'd say P4 on the grid. At the moment, of course, this is only Q1. As here comes Hülkenberg through the chicane. Car looking all right, but nothing special, as Lando Norris goes fastest on a 1:12.4. Hülkenberg goes P3 on a 13 flat. So there you go. 13 flat for Nico Hülkenberg. I'll update the order, guys, once everyone has completed a time. Only 10 out of the 20 drivers have completed a lap time so far. So, yeah, I'll update it as soon as all the times are on the board. Charles Leclerc is currently on his first lap. He's just come through the first sector, about 1/4 of a second faster than Lando Norris. And he's done a faster first sector than Sebastian Vettel, as Robert Kubica improves his time to a 14.9. Leclerc even faster than Norris in the middle sector. And now comes into the final sector, where the Ferrari is very, very quick, as he now powers down the back straight into the final chicane. And car looks pretty good for the moment and takes the shortest route to the line. And Charles Leclerc goes fastest by 0.6 of a second on a 1:11.6. Sebastian Vettel goes second, 1/2 a second down on his teammate Charles Leclerc. But at the moment, that is good enough for Ferrari. We still don't have any lap times from the two Red Bulls, two Mercedes, Ricciardo, Sainz or Perez. Perez is still in the pit lane, as Lewis Hamilton starts his first run in Q1. Car not looking that great in the first couple corners. Bit of understeer there for Lewis Hamilton. And Hamilton looking a bit better in turn 4 and 5. Ricciardo goes 9th on his first run. Hamilton a 10th down after the first sector, as Max Verstappen goes second on a 1 minute 12.0. Bottas also on his first flying lap in Q1 and in qualifying in general, as Hamilton comes up to the middle sector and is up on Leclerc, but only by 0.07 of a second. And now here comes Lewis Hamilton into the back straight, and this is where the Mercedes and their new power unit should really help them. But is it helping them enough compared to Ferrari? Let's see, as he flings it into the final chicane, and Lewis Hamilton goes third, 0.3 of a second off. Here comes Valtteri Bottas, who goes P4 for Mercedes. And Nib saying, and it's true, the track is really slow at the moment, as we have all the times on the board except for Sergio Perez. So I will wait until Perez completes his lap, and then we will update the order as to what it is. As Danny Kvyat comes out of the final corner, comes to the line, and Danny Kvyat, who's currently P11, goes up to P8. as Sergio Perez has started his first run in qualifying. At the moment, in the drop zone are the two Williamses, Sergio Perez, who hasn't done a lap yet, Carlos Sainz, very surprisingly, and Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll being in the drop zone is not a surprise. Sebastian Vettel is on another lap. He comes into the final chicane as Charles Leclerc goes even faster on a 1:11.4. As Vettel now comes to the line and goes P2, just over a tenth behind. So Ferrari looking pretty quick right now. Pretty quick there for Ferrari. And Binotto looking not massively happy, but happier for sure than he was looking during the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. And Sergio Perez should be completing his first run in just a moment. And yeah, he does. He goes P9 as Max Verstappen is now going to come to the line. And where will Max Verstappen go? Opens the DRS, and Max Verstappen goes. He stays third, but improves his lap time. So let me update the order, and make sure I get that caps right. So Verstappen is third. Red Bull there, getting close to the wall. I think maybe touching the wall. But Hamilton is fourth. Bottas is fifth, and then you've got Pierre Gasly, who's about to complete another lap. I don't know if he will go any faster. I don't think he will. No, he goes P4. Very good there for Red Bull, but again, I think Mercedes have more to show than what they have done so far. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. He's done a slower middle sector, but a very quick first sector, and goes P2 for Mercedes. And here comes Valtteri Bottas. Let's see what Bottas can do. I think Valtteri is about to go fastest for Mercedes, and he does by a quarter of a second. So Mercedes are responding to Ferrari's pace with about 5.5 minutes to go in Q1. So let me quickly update the order for you guys. Hamilton is third, and then you've got Sebastian Vettel in fourth at the moment. Charles Leclerc is on another lap, and so is Sebastian Vettel. Verstappen is fifth, Gasly is sixth, and then P7 is Daniel Ricciardo. And then you've got Lando Norris P8, as here comes Leclerc swinging into the final corner. Where will Leclerc go? He's currently P2. He goes fastest by 15 thousandths of a second. I'll update that in just a moment. And here comes Sebastian Vettel, who goes even faster by 15 thousandths of a second on a 1:11.2. Right, so let me now update this order finally. So Ricciardo's P7, Norris is P8. You've got Danny Kvyat in P9, and then Perez is currently P10. Lance Stroll is in P11. P12 is Nico Hülkenberg. Surprisingly, P13 is Carlos Sainz, which is a bit lower than he has been really this weekend. Antonio Giovinazzi is 14th. 15th is Kevin Magnussen. And then 16th, rather surprisingly, with 4 minutes to go in Q1, you've got Alexander Albon, Romain Grosjean, and Kimi Räikkönen. That's quite surprising, but let me quickly update the front. So Vettel, it's Vettel, Leclerc, and then Bottas third, and Lewis Hamilton in P4. So there you go. That is the current live order at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve, as qualifying is now underway, as we have Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean currently on laps. They've got to improve their times. Not looking good right now for Haas F1. And here comes Kevin Magnussen on the back straight. And I think this will improve him massively compared to where he was. And here he comes now into the final chicane. Oh, he got very close to the wall there. I don't know if he clipped it, but here he comes. And Kevin Magnussen goes up to P9. So P9 there for Magnussen. Grosjean goes P7. And here comes Robert Kubica, who stays 20th but improves his time. Antonio Giovinazzi goes P12. That's better. Alexander Albon goes P6 on a 112 flat. That's great by Albon. Kimi Raikkonen goes P10. And who is next to the line? It's George Russell in the Williams, who stays 19th. Danny Kvyat comes to the line and goes P8. So good there for Toro Rosso. Lando Norris goes P6 for McLaren. That's more like it. Carlos Sainz, by the way, is now in the drop zone. So I'll update the order. With 2 minutes to go now in Q1, I'll update the order to what it is once qualifying 1 has finished, because it is going to swap around massively with only 2 minutes to go. It's going to be going all over the place. There's Frederick Vasseur, the person I think should be Ferrari's next team principal. If you want to know why, check out my video about why Ferrari need to rebuild for the future. I uploaded it on Thursday. You can check it out on the channel. There's Franz Tost on the Toro Rosso pit wall. We have Daniel Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz, all on outlaps. The drop zone right now is Lance Stroll, Nico Hülkenberg, and Carlos Sainz. Again, I know the order is not the exact order, but again, it has swapped around massively. And with a minute to go in Q1, I might as well see what happens and then update it once once qualifying 1 has officially finished. As here comes home driver Lance Stroll on his final run in qualifying 1. What can he do to get into Q2 for the first time this season? Oh, very close to the wall on the exit of 5. And here he comes. He is not quick enough in the first sector, but that's not the sector where it's all won and lost. As he now comes through the DRS straight between 7 and 8. Turns it in. And car looking all right, but nothing special. Can it get him in to qualifying 2? He's done a faster middle sector, but it's not quick enough at the moment to get him in to Q2. Carlos Sainz is massively up on the time he needs to be up on. And here comes Lance Stroll. Can he, at his home race, as Kevin Magnussen goes up to P10, can he, at his home race, qualify outside Q1? Oh, big swapper on outside of the final chicane. And here he comes to the line. He does go 14th. So Lance, for the moment, is in. Carlos Sainz goes P6. Ricciardo, P8. That's enough for him. Albon, P9. Hülkenberg goes P6. So Giovinazzi and Perez are in the drop zone right now. Here comes Antonio Giovinazzi. Where does he go? P15, and that puts Kimi Raikkonen now in the drop zone. Where does Raikkonen go? Raikkonen is out. Raikkonen is out of qualifying 1. And here comes Sergio Perez. He's out as well. What a disappointment for Racing Point. P16 and P18 for Racing Point. That's a shocker for them. And let me get rid of that timer and quickly replace this text a moment. And then I will finalize the order. But yeah, that is the end of Q1. Let me just put it there. Q1 is over. Let me don't put that. And now let me do the final finishing order. So it's Vettel fastest, from Leclerc second, then Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen, 6th was Nico Hulkenberg. And then in P7, Carlos Sainz, very good there for him. P8 was Norris. P9, Daniel Ricciardo, so good there for Renault. Good for the Renault-powered cars, you have to say. P10, Danny Kvyat, good for him. And P11, Albon, so good there for Toro Rosso. P12, Pierre Gasly. That's because he didn't go out at the end of the session. And by the way, Pierre Gasly was a bit lucky. He was only a 10th and a half away from getting knocked out. Magnussen, 13th. 14th is... Let me just replace this. 14th is Roman Grosjean. 15th, just getting through and knocking his teammate out, Antonio Giovinazzi. And then knocked out of Q1, Sergio Perez. Kimi Raikkonen in 17th. That's a terrible qualifying for him, but he hasn't been good this weekend. And then in 18th, not Perez, it is home driver Lance Stroll, who once again disappoints in qualifying. But there you go, that is qualifying 1 over and done with. And by the way, the 2 Williamses, of course, are at the back. So there you go. As I've seen a replay here of a Toro Rosso possibly getting in a driver's way, I think, of Carlos Sainz. Maybe, I don't know. But there you go. That is Q1 over and done with. Oh, there you go. The Toro Rosso was massively held up by Carlos Sainz, who finished his lap. So bad there for the Toro Rosso, but I don't think that will result in a penalty because the Toro Rosso made it through anyway. But I'll quickly post a picture of the surprise person who has been knocked out of Q1. Let me just quickly put that picture on screen for you guys. So here you go. The Alfa Romeo of Kimi Raikkonen knocked out in Q1. And you have to say, Alfa do not have any speed this weekend, because Antonio Giovinazzi only just about made it through in P15. So Alfa Romeo don't have any speed whatsoever this weekend, and that is a shame to see, but that is the way it is. Yeah, there you go. As I'll adjust this over here so I can get the timer ready in just a moment. But yeah, guys, let me know right now in the chat, what did you think of Q1 and the surprise elimination of not only Kimi Raikkonen but also Sergio Perez, who has been so good this weekend, you have to say. Tonka Toy Truck says, poor Kimi, Alfa has really... Let me just read that. Alfa has really fallen backwards. They really have. Alfa, after the big upgrade at the Spanish Grand Prix, Alfa have took a big step backwards. And it's going to take something quite big to get them going in the right direction. Liam Ultra Racer asks, when is Q2 starting? It'll be in about probably a minute and a half to 2 minutes time. But I will let you know, of course, when it starts, as I'll get the timer going. And yes, you are reading that right. It was a Ferrari 1-2 in... it was a Ferrari 1-2 in Q1. Will that happen again? Who knows? Who knows? Let's see how Ferrari do. As the crowd is now getting ready for the start of qualifying 2. I see a Monaco flag there in the stands. So we've got some Charles Leclerc fans in Canada. Great to see that. And now let me quickly get the text ready. So remaining in Q2. Q2 hasn't started yet, but will start very, very soon. So don't worry, I'll let you know when it starts, as it should start in about a minute's time. As here comes a Mercedes on, interestingly, medium compound tyres. And there you go, Q2 is now underway. 15 minutes to go in Q2. Let's see what the top drivers now can do on that set of medium compound tyres. Can they do a good enough lap to get into the top 10? That's all that matters. Doesn't matter where you finish in the top 10, as long as you get through, that's all that matters. And preferably, if you can get through on a harder compound of tyre, then you're setting yourself up for a fantastic Grand Prix tomorrow, compared to other drivers who start on the unfavourable, softer compound of tyre. Yep, Bottas, Hamilton and Antonio Giovinazzi on track. Now is Charles Leclerc on track. Again, the running order, except for 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th and 20th, is not the current position and the current order. But again, Perez, Raikkonen, Stroll, Russell and Kubica, I can confirm, have been knocked out in Q1. And here comes Charles Leclerc. He is also on the medium. Sebastian Vettel is on track, I assume, on the medium tyre as well. So let's see what Ferrari and Mercedes can do. As Lewis Hamilton starts, and also Valtteri Bottas now finally start their first run in Q2 on that medium compound tyre. Let me quickly post a picture of a Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas. And here we go. Here is Lewis Hamilton pushing very hard on that medium tyre. Let's see what time he can do. It was a 11.0. The fastest time in Q1. Let's see how much faster they go this time. Here is Bottas. I'll put him on screen right here. Hamilton looking quick so far. Let's see what his full final lap time though is. And he comes down the back straight. And let's see what Hamilton does for his lap time through the final chicane lap. Not looking that spectacular, but looking quick. And here comes Lewis Hamilton and does a 1:11.3. So quick, but not massively quick. As Valtteri Bottas, I think, has made a mistake on his first Q2 run. And here we go. Here's a replay. Down into turn 4. Turns in. Car oversteers on the curb. And that, I think, is Bottas's first run ruined. Here are the two Ferraris right next to each other on track. Sebastian Vettel running a bit wide there. Now opens the DRS on the back straight, heading towards the final chicane. Where will Vettel go compared to Lewis Hamilton? Vettel now goes into the final chicane. Floors it out of the exit and now takes the shortest route to the line, and Sebastian Vettel does go fastest by 0.03 of a second. Charles Leclerc goes P4 but only on a 1:22.0. He must have made a mistake on his lap. Here is a replay of Leclerc, and yep, into turn 8, locks the outside front and cuts the chicane and then lets his teammate through on his lap. So Leclerc will go again. Bottas is now on another lap. And here comes Valtteri Bottas. DRS open. He had a bit of a slipstream from the Toro Rosso. And here comes Bottas into the final chicane. And opens the DRS. Now on the pit straight. And Valtteri Bottas goes P3. Only just under 0.2 of a second off Sebastian Vettel's time. By the way, we only have four representative lap times right now. Charles Leclerc has set a lap time, but it's not representative at all. Here is Max Verstappen encountering a lot of traffic on his qualifying lap. but it's not affecting him so far. As now he opens the DRS down the back straight, he will pick up a slight slipstream ahead of the Ferrari, I believe that is, and that Ferrari is kind of holding Max up, but then again he is getting a slipstream as he now comes to the line, and Max Verstappen goes P4 on a 1:11.8 on the medium compound tyre. I think Max might struggle to get through with that. Here comes Alexander Albon, who comes to the line and goes P6 on a 1:12.6. Nico Hülkenberg on the soft tyre goes faster than Max Verstappen. Proof that Red Bull are in trouble on the medium tyre there. Here comes Sainz in the good-looking McLaren, who comes now to the line. Where will he go? He goes P5 ahead of Max Verstappen. So, yeah, Verstappen will have to do a faster run or will have to come out again on the soft compound of tyres. Still haven't got enough representative lap times to be able to update the order right now, as we now have 9 minutes to go in qualifying 2. Charles Leclerc is on a very fast lap. Here he comes, shortest route to the line. Charles Leclerc goes fastest by 1/10 of a second. Kevin Magnussen goes P7 on a 1:11.7 and is immediately replaced by Lando Norris, as Sebastian Vettel goes back to the top on a 1:11.1, I think it was, as Ricciardo encountered a Red Bull there on the opening of his lap, but I don't think it affected him that much. As now Gasly and Grosjean are on a lap, so I'm going to start updating the order. So it's currently Vettel from Leclerc at the top, and then you've got Hamilton in third with Valtteri Bottas in P4. And then Ricciardo at the moment is P5 with Hülkenberg in P6. Very impressive. Here comes Max Verstappen. Let's see where he will go on this lap. He's 1/10.5 down on Sebastian Vettel through the middle sector. He shouldn't have any traffic on this lap, as Pierre Gasly is about to go fastest because he is on the soft compound tyre. So Gasly about to go fastest. He picks up a slipstream, does Gasly from a Haas in the background. Here comes Verstappen, opens the DRS in the pit straight, and he will go a bit faster, I think. No, he doesn't. Well, he goes faster in terms of lap time, but does not get into the top 10. He's now P11 as Gasly goes second. So Pierre Gasly into P2 as Romain Grosjean messed up on his first run and comes back into the pits having not set a time. So you've got Leclerc third, Lewis Hamilton in fourth. Max Verstappen will have to go again on the soft tyre as he's currently P11. And then you've got Ricciardo in P6. And then Hülkenberg P7. That's more like it from Renault. That's what they need to be doing. That is what they need to be doing. Good by McLaren also. 8th and 9th at the moment for them. And then in 10th is, for the moment, Kevin Magnussen. And then in P11 is Max Verstappen, who is under pressure. And Red Bull are under pressure for that final run in Q2. And then P12, Antonio Giovinazzi. Quite a good lap by Giovinazzi to get P12. And then P13 is Kvyat. And here's the replay of Grosjean locked up at turn 6. That's why he's ended up where he has, which is P15. Albon 14th, and then 15th is Romain Grosjean with 5.5 minutes to go in qualifying 2. By the way, great to see so many people here. 926 people watching. Don't forget to keep, smashing the like as Lewis Hamilton comes to the line and goes fastest by a tenth. But yeah, with so many people watching, don't forget to hit the like button, and also don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, as of course I do watch-alongs for every Grand Prix in 2019, so yeah, don't forget to subscribe for that. But also, let's try if we can and get this stream up to 1,000 viewers. That would be great. But I'm going to quickly post a new picture for you guys of a Red Bull of Max Verstappen as Valtteri Bottas is on another lap on the medium tyres. And here is Max. This is from, I believe this picture is from Q1, but that is him today on track as Bottas now comes up to the middle sector. He's only 0.02 of a second down on Lewis Hamilton. Very close between Hamilton and Bottas. No surprise there. And now he launches it onto the back straight. And here comes Valtteri Bottas. Coming into the final chicane. Throws it in. And opens the DRS. And he should go P2 with this lap. And where does he go? Yes, P2 for Valtteri Bottas. So let me quickly update that. Hamilton now fastest from Bottas second. It is very close at the top. We are going to have a great fight, guys, for pole. So don't forget to stick around for Q3. Vettel is third. And then you got Gasly fourth. And Charles Leclerc in, for the moment, P5. Yep, there you go. By the way, Tonka Toy Truck, Bottas's lap, and I believe Hamilton's lap also, was on the medium tyre. Everyone did their laps on mediums except... everyone did their laps on soft except for the 2 Ferrari drivers, 2 Mercedes drivers, and Max Verstappen. I'm going to quickly post a different picture for you guys of Max Verstappen encountering some traffic on his lap as Danny Kvyat is now on a lap and looking not quick enough at the moment to get into the final part of qualifying. And here you go, Max Verstappen was complaining about traffic, and this is why. He has or had a Ferrari ahead, and then you can see there you got a McLaren and another Ferrari ahead, so bit of traffic there. But Max, as Danny Kvyat now comes to the line with 2 minutes to go in Q2 and goes P12, which is not that great of a lap. By the way, just to update you guys, Sebastian Vettel has recorded the highest speed in the speed traps of 333.3 kilometers per hour. And then it's Perez, Ricciardo, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Sainz, Stroll, Hülkenberg, Albon and Leclerc in that top 10 for the speed trap. By the way, we've hit 1,000. Thank you guys very, very much for that. Really do appreciate it. Let's keep pushing those numbers up. Try and break the previous record of 1,250. As here comes Alexander Albon. Opens the DRS, comes to the line with 90 seconds to go in Q2, and he stays P14. As we have everyone on an outlap except for Pierre Gasly. And Kvyat and Albon are not on outlaps, but they've just completed a lap. And now, here is Lando Norris on his final run in qualifying 2. And I believe if Norris, how far is he ahead of the drop zone? Only half a tenth. Oh, he's done a poor first sector as Norris. Poor first sector. He's gone slower than he did before. And so has Grosjean done a poor first sector. So not looking good for Norris and Grosjean. Magnussen's looking good for the moment. But here comes Norris now up to the middle sector. and improves his middle sector. At the moment, this lap would probably keep him where he is. Kevin Magnussen is about 0.2 of a second up on his previous lap. So at the moment, Magnussen doing enough to get into qualifying 2. And here comes Norris into the final chicane. Traffic ahead. It's a Toro Rosso of, I think, Danny Kvyat. He will get a slipstream though. Here he comes to the line. Oh, but massive crash! Massive crash for the Haas of Kevin Magnussen. That's an enormous accident, and that is qualifying over and done with. Red flags are out. That is going to put him at the back of the grid, and Max Verstappen is out of qualifying. So Max Verstappen is out. Max Verstappen out in P11 because Magnussen crashed. What drama here in Canada. So let me update the order. So, well, it's basically the same except for Kvyat ahead of Giovinazzi and then Albon and Grosjean. But Kevin Magnussen having a massive crash, and Max Verstappen is now out of Q2 and Pierre Gasly is through. How unfortunate for Max, and that is why you don't take risks like Max and Red Bull did in the first run of qualifying 2. But let me quickly replace the text. So Q2 is over. And here we go. So puts it into the final chicane, runs a bit wide on the entry, hits the wall, and then spins, hits the other wall on the other side, and then his car grinds to a halt. That was a massive crash, and he damaged his right rear tyre before he even hit the wall on the other side. So he hits the wall, damages his rear tyre, spins, hits the pit wall, and then goes back to the other wall. So Magnussen, he makes it through, but he won't be competing, of course, in Q3, and we will now have a delay to Q3. What drama. What drama. So Max Verstappen, because of that crash, Max Verstappen is out of qualifying in P11. And then also out Kvyat, Giovinazzi. I think Giovinazzi's done well there to qualify 13th. Then you got Albon and Grosjean 14th and 15th. Yeah, enormous accident by... And Max Verstappen there, very, very disappointed, of course. He was going to be in that top 5, I think, for sure. But they took a risk with the medium tyre. And that is the risk you run sometimes. And they paid the price. Here, by the way, is Lewis Hamilton. I'll just pop him on screen for you guys. And readjust. But yeah, the Q2 session is now over. And the finishing order of Q2 is running along the bottom of your screen. So Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, Gasly, Leclerc, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Sainz, Norris and Magnussen, who crashed at the very end, made it through to Q3, but getting knocked out, very surprisingly, Max Verstappen, Danny Kvyat, Antonio Giovinazzi, Alexander Albon and Romain Grosjean, as Grosjean was the first car on the scene after Magnussen crashed. But yeah, there you go. I'll try if I can, and yet I'll post the picture now of Kevin Magnussen crashing at the final chicane. We've seen it before. Drivers, they push too hard and end up absolutely destroying their own car. But yeah, let me quickly get this picture on screen. Here you go. That's Kevin Magnussen wrecking his car, and he will probably start from the back of the grid tomorrow because his car is very, very badly damaged. But there you go. But guys, in the live chat, let me know, what are your thoughts of Q2? What do you think is going to happen once we get into Q3? And I was going to say that's Grosjean hitting the wall. It was Magnussen. Just a replay of Magnussen again hitting the Wall of Champions. The Wall of Champions has claimed many victims, such as Michael Schumacher, Jenson Button, Damon Hill, Jacques Villeneuve, Sebastian Vettel in practice 1 year, Pastor Maldonado, Kevin Magnussen today. It claims many victims. It is it doesn't discriminate, that wall, as Magnussen slammed right into it. But yeah, let's see what you guys have to say. As yeah, Q3 will be delayed probably for 3 or 4 minutes. Let's see what you guys have to say. Taib, will K-Mag start P10? Probably not, because his car's completely wrecked. So I would imagine he will start from the back, because he'll have to completely swap or change around his car. So no, I don't think he will be starting P10. I'd be massively, massively surprised if he started P10 after basically ripping the second half of his car off. Right. Roy saying Ricardo has done well. He has. Also, big shout out to Nico Hulkenberg as well. And Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris. So Renault power really looking good this weekend. And that was kind of the case last year, because if you remember, last year at this track, Renault had the best midfield car by quite a gap to other teams at the time, such as I believe it was Force India and Haas, who were the closest teams to them. So last year's performance for Renault is kind of replicating itself today. Good to see from a Renault point of view. And Liam Ultra Racing or Racer saying Renault power doing good. Michael Arvin saying Max will start 10th then. Yep, he will, but he should be starting P5, so it will still be disappointing. And Max Verstappen's chances of a podium tomorrow now become very, very small. Aerodete says, I love street circuits. This is the great thing about street circuits, especially in qualifying, because you get to see the drivers really tested, and they have to, if they want to get through to the next part qualifying, they've got to push that hard to get through and really test themselves against the very tight and unforgiving walls of the street track they're racing at, such as the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. Right, let me find some more comments from you guys in the chat. I want to try and read out as many as I can. Kyle Greenwald, and is absolutely right. That thing is totaled. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. That car will take hours to repair. Right, let me find some more. Antoine, so what happened? Did Max crash? Nope. Basically, Max was behind Magnussen on track. So when Magnussen crashed, the red flag came out immediately. And of course, when a red flag comes out, you can't set a lap time. So, yeah, Max was unfortunate, but Red Bull did run the risk. And you have to say, Red Bull are kind of guilty for Max Verstappen being eliminated, because they ran the risk of that type of thing happening and them getting eliminated. So Red Bull do have to accept some responsibility for what happened today. But by the way, guys, Q3 will be underway shortly. I'll update you guys as to when it will be underway, but it will be underway shortly. They're just trying to clean up the track from the crash you can see on your screen from Kevin Magnussen. So we are currently delayed in the arrival of the start of Q3, but we will be starting very soon, so don't worry. Right, let me read some more comments. Let me just find Let me find some more here. Warren M says Max can start the race on hards now, and if we can go long enough, put softs on the final stint and come flying after Lewis. If Red Bull are smart here, this could be a really good thing for the race. I see your point, and if we do get a couple safety cars, or at least one safety car that we normally do get this track, then that could help Max in the race come through the field and also stay close enough to the top 5. But as we've seen though, at Canada, starting in the pack, even if you have a quick car, it does put you at risk of having a lap 1 crash and then ending up out of the race. So yeah, Max Verstappen, he's in for a hard race tomorrow. I think in terms of strategy, if we get a safety car at the right time, say midway through the race, he could really be on for a good race result tomorrow still. But his job of doing that has really been made very, very tough. But we'll see, of course, what happens tomorrow in the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix. By the way, guys, in case you didn't know, we will be doing a watch along for the race tomorrow as well. So don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can subscribe, or click on my channel name and go to the homepage and subscribe. And also, if you like this type of content, then make sure to smash the like button as well. Right. By the way, great to have so many people here. 1,100 of you watching live. We are about 100 people away from our record viewership. So if we can break that, that'd be great. But no pressure, as we are still delayed in the beginning of qualifying 3. Currently watching some interviews of Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez as the marshals are currently cleaning up the track. But with Q3 to come, guys, who are you going for pole position also? Who do you think will get pole? By the way, thank you, Crystal Racing, for that. Yeah, do you think that Ferrari can get pole? Or do you think that... do you think Mercedes will eventually, like I think, just about get the pole position? Let me know in the live chat, and I'll read out your predictions or comments in regards to that. As, by the way, Sergio Perez has outqualified Lance Stroll at every race this season, but unfortunately, both racing points knocked out in Q1, as you can see along the bottom of your screen. Jedi Master says, I've bet on Lewis. Lol. Easy money. Annette wants Leclerc to get on pole, as the marshals are now putting Kevin Magnussen's severely damaged Haas on the back of a tow truck. Good to see. And yeah, that Haas is completely destroyed. The rear wing, the gearbox is definitely going to be damaged by that. Crystal Racing says Vettel pole. Well, if Sebastian Vettel does get pole, it'll be his first pole position since Hockenheim in 2018. Ever since that famous crash he, did in the race. That's how long it's been since Sebastian has got pole. And you can't say he hasn't had a car that could get pole ever since then. So it does show you that been a long time for Sebastian since a pole position, but can he get it today? We'll see. We'll see if he can. Nest Breaks says, hopefully no Ferrari failure this time. Let's go, Scuderia. Antoine, is Merc sandbagging? I think possibly in practice and in qualifying 1 they were, but in qualifying 2, of course, you can see there, they ended up 1st and 2nd. So maybe that is their true pace, but Ferrari did not go out for a final run against Hamilton and Bottas. So I don't know for sure whether that is truly the pace at the front. And that, of course, is what makes the battle for pole that is going to be happening pretty soon so exciting, because we don't know for sure who has the faster car. And it might come down to the drivers and who can bang out that great, near perfect lap at the end of qualifying. As Kevin Magnussen's car is slowly being towed away off the tow truck by the crane. And Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren, looking on. McLaren getting both cars into Q3. That's the first time they've done that since Baku, I believe. Was it Baku? I don't know if it was Baku. I think that might be the first time since Bahrain then that they've done that. But yeah, McLaren looking good in 2019. Nib saying, oh, hurry up already. Monaco mechanics or marshals would have got this car off the track 10 minutes ago. Absolutely. I don't know why it's taking so long. I mean, the pit lane is right there. I'm surprised they don't have some sort of crane that can just crane the car over the pit wall and dump it. Not literally, but, you know, put it down in the pit lane. But it's now getting took back to the pit lane. Ernest says Charles will get pole. It would be great to see him after what happened in Monaco. It would be great to see him getting right back at it and getting up there, you know, in first and second place. And yet the marshals taking their time. I think it's safe to say taking their time taking Kevin Magnussen's car back to the pit lane. Right, let me read some more comments. Tony says Ferrari strategists are recommending wets for Q3. Let me find some more. Grace says Mercedes will get pole position. Ronnie Williams says Lewis all the way. Antoine says Ferrari got to do better. We've got a couple people very happy about McLaren doing so well. Right, let me find some more. I'm trying to read out as many comments from you wonderful people. JPW says Vettel can do it. Hashtag party mode on. Candice Diaz, great to see you. You're a bit of a regular. Says Vettel for pole. No 62 Ferrari says Leclerc will get pole ahead of Vettel, Bottas, and then says Hamilton P8. Not sure about that, but he did make a mistake yesterday, so it's not out of character for this weekend for Lewis Hamilton to possibly bin it into the wall. But we'll see. Owen Farrell says Ferrari will screw over Leclerc. And I believe qualifying 3 is about to get underway in just a moment. We're just not seeing any message on the screen, but the Haas of Kevin Magnussen is now back in the pit lane, meaning that Q3 should be underway in probably a couple minutes at most. Timo Ross says, does Ferrari have a new front wing? Not yet. Apparently, Ferrari have a new front wing for the next race in France. I don't know if it's a completely new front wing that's new in design or just say an advancement in the current concept they have. But apparently, Ferrari have a new front wing for the next race in France at Paul Ricard in a fortnight's time. Right, let me find. Kyle Greenwald says, do you have a picture of Ferrari front wing? Not at the moment. Not at the moment. Lazy Dude says, Bottas will crash in Q3 and Gasly will get pole by 1,000th of a second. And Nib says, it'll still be the same concept of front wing. Yeah, they can't really, in the short amount of time they've had, they can't really go and design a completely new looking front wing. But it will be basically an update on the concept that, of course, the radical concept they've gone for this season compared to Mercedes and Red Bull. And annoyingly, the session still is not underway. We're currently just watching Sky F1 pundits talk about nothing. I don't know why it's taking so long for qualifying 3 to get underway. By the way, Michael Ewing, yes, the update, the order along the bottom of your screen, yes, that is the finishing order of qualifying 2. Qualifying 3 hasn't started yet because Kevin Magnussen, as you can see on your screen, crashed out of the final chicane and caused a red flag, and that is why we have a delay. But the running order, running along the bottom of your screen, is the finishing order of Q2, and from P11 down is the final order for those drivers. So Max Verstappen knocked out in Q2, big surprise. Kvyat P12, Giovinazzi P13, then Albon P14, Grosjean P15, and then knocked out in Q1 Perez, Kimi Raikkonen, very surprising, Lance Stroll P18, and then Russell and Kubica at the back. So, yeah, we're just waiting for qualifying 3 to get underway, and I don't understand what the wait is. Michael Ewing says, thanks, mate, and props for saying the last name right. I had a bit of trouble at the start, but yeah, I could just about get away with the pronunciation. And now we're watching the Haas get lowered down. Oh, is this really what we're waiting for? Really? Are we really waiting for that car to be lowered down? Honestly. Yeah, I still don't get why we're waiting for so long. I mean, it's not like it's Baku where it's hard to clean up debris. I don't understand what the hold-up is right now. There is a nice shot on the live coverage of Ferrari's T-wing on the back of the modified fin. And qualifying 3 is still at the moment delayed by a long time, which is really, really annoying. But guys, and SJ Scott says apparently Q3 will start at 15:05. Is that the case? And yes, it is. So SJ Scott, there you go. There's your shout out. Absolutely right on the money there with when the session was getting underway. So guys, in 2.5 minutes time, qualifying 3 will be underway. By the way, MCL13, we are not currently at the record viewership for a live stream as of yet. We are about 60 away, so if we can get another 60 or 100, that'd be great. But to have 1,200 people watching right now live, honestly, I cannot thank you guys enough to be here. You know, to have a quarter of my subscribers watching me live, I cannot thank you guys enough for all of you turning up. So thank you guys so much for turning up, and if you are new, then don't forget to subscribe and be a part of our wonderful community. But right, I'll start getting stuff ready now. So we are about 1.5 minutes away from the start of qualifying 3, and I cannot wait to see the battle for pole. I think we're in for a great battle for pole, as we are about 1 minute away from qualifying 3 starting. It should have started about 10 minutes ago. This really should not have took that long, but there you go. But yeah, we are about 1 minute away from the start of the battle for pole position. By the way, thank you, Nicola Fox, and hopefully, yeah, you did enjoy this stream. Great to have you along with everybody else watching live as well, and also watching after the stream is finished. Great to have you all here. Ray Brandhorst saying, I have spider webs under my armpits waiting for this quali to restart. Oh dear. It has took way too long It really has. But the wait is now just about over as qualifying 3 gets underway very, very soon. Literally seconds away. As the Mercedes mechanics there waiting to rip off the tyre blankets. Here comes Pierre Gasly. Down the pit lane. And now comes out onto track. So we have 12 minutes to go in qualifying 3. So here we go, guys. Who will get pole? Let me know in the chat who you think will get pole position. It's going to be close between Ferrari and Mercedes, the two top dogs in Formula 1 right now. And let me quickly post a picture of a certain driver that really could be on pole at this track. Let me quickly put him on screen. It is the Monegasque Charles Leclerc. There he is. Not on track at the moment, as some drivers, or most of the drivers, actually every driver except for Pierre Gasly, is currently for some reason waiting to get out on track. Very tense standoff in the pit lane between Ferrari and Mercedes as Pierre Gasly is about to start his first run in Q3. What can Gasly do? Can he possibly get a surprise second row? I don't think he can, but if he gets P5, I think that'll be good enough from him. Here he comes, starts his first lap. By the way, we have broken the viewership record. Let's keep that viewership growing, guys. Thank you very, 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 very much. As Pierre Gasly now comes into turn 4, into turn 5, gets very close to the wall and exit like you should. If you ain't hitting the wall around this track, you ain't trying hard enough. As Pierre Gasly now into 6, all a bit skittish on the rear. As the two Ferraris are now on track, and the two Renaults of Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg. By the way, this is the first double Q3 appearance for Renault since Shanghai. Here comes Pierre Gasly into the hairpin. Exits the hairpin. The car looks pretty good to me. And now opens the DRS on the back straight and comes down to the final chicane. What will Gasly do for his first time in Q3? Exits the chicane, opens the DRS and takes the shortest run to the line and does a 1:12.1. That's quite slow. Actually, that is very, very slow. Very slow by Gasly. As now every driver that can compete in Q3, of course, except for Kevin Magnussen, is now on track. You've got Hamilton, Bottas, Vettel, Leclerc, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Sainz and Norris all on outlaps. And I believe, and here comes Charles Leclerc, man on screen, to start his first run in Q3. Can Ferrari get pole for the first time since Bahrain? Let's see. Into turn 1. Car looks pretty good so far. Slight oversteer on exit. Might cost him slight time, but that's good enough for now. Turn 3 and 4 looks good. Now, end of the first sector. He's already quarter of a second up on Pierre Gasly, which is, let's be honest, expected. Here comes Leclerc then through turn 7 down to turn 8. DRS wide open. Yellow flag in sector 1. Don't know who for. As Leclerc is now coming up to the middle sector. Now the track is green. Now it's yellow again. I don't know what's going on. And here comes Leclerc into the back straight as Sebastian Vettel is going even faster behind Leclerc on this lap. Here comes Charles Leclerc down to the final chicane. Lewis Hamilton's on an absolute mega lap in the Mercedes. 1.2 up on Gasly at the moment. Here comes Charles Leclerc to the line. Fastest on a 1:11.1. Hülkenberg goes second ahead of Gasly. Sebastian Vettel goes faster than Leclerc by half a second. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. What does he do? He goes fastest by 0.2 of a second on 1 minute 10.4. So advantage for now to Mercedes. But what was the yellow flag for? Was it for Valtteri Bottas? I don't know. And here is a replay. It must have been for Valtteri Bottas. So on the exit of 3. Oh, he spun it. He spun it on the exit of 3. That's why there was a yellow flag. He got on the curb slightly too hard. And spun it. So Bottas has bottled his first run. And he now has to pray that there is no red flag or yellow flag at the end of the session. Or else he will end up at the back of the top 10. So Bottas now back in the pits. And let me now update the order. So after the first run of Q3, it's Lewis Hamilton on pole by about 0.2 of a second from Sebastian Vettel. Charles Leclerc is third. Nico Hülkenberg is fourth, ahead of Pierre Gasly, who's back out on track on an outlap. So yeah, Gasly is in P5, and then P6 is Ricciardo, so Renault looking good. And then P7 is Carlos Sainz, P8 Valtteri Bottas, and then you got P9 Norris, P10 Magnussen. Magnussen, of course, can't come out because he crashed his car. Lando Norris hasn't come out on track yet, and Valtteri Bottas spun on his first attempt in Q3. Charles Leclerc is, I think, he's on another lap, is Charles Leclerc. Let's see what he can do. He was 0.7 down on Hamilton on his first run. He is half a second down on Hamilton after the first 2 sectors, so it's not looking that great. Right now, for Charles Leclerc, looks like he is going to stay where he is, and to be honest, he should probably come right back into the pits, because I don't think this will improve his time. He's going to come through the final chicane anyway, throws it in, opens the DRS, shortest run to the line, and Charles Leclerc, yep, stays third and does improve his time, but not by much. So there you go, that's the first run in Q3 done with 4.5 minutes to go in the session. As Pierre Gasly, I think, is on a lap at the moment. Yes, he is. Here is the man currently on pole. Will he remain there? We'll have to see what Ferrari have on their final attempt. Here comes Gasly through the final chicane. And Pierre Gasly, where does he go? He goes up to P4 ahead of Hülkenberg. So, and by about about half a second quicker than Hülkenberg is Gasly on that attempt. So that's better from Gasly. As long as he finishes P5, really, that is good enough for Pierre. So at the moment, if Valtteri Bottas makes another error, Renault will be on the 3rd row of the grid. How about that? But yeah, at the moment, Lewis Hamilton is on provisional pole position. They're all back in the pits except for Vettel, Leclerc, Gasly. And as Leclerc now pits. But yeah, the final run of qualifying will be getting underway pretty soon. But guys, just to make sure I can calm down slightly ahead of the final run and make sure my throat doesn't die, I'm going to take a quick drinks break and then I'll be right back at it. Right, as we're seeing more replays of Valtteri Bottas spinning. What can Bottas do on his final attempt? Can he beat Hamilton to pole? Remember, 17 points is the gap in Lewis Hamilton's favour in the Drivers' World Championship. And as we've seen this season, leading into the first corner normally means you're going to win the race. So it's key. If Bottas is to beat Hamilton this weekend, it is rather key that Valtteri Bottas goes out there and gets pole position, as he does now come out on track. with the two Renaults, the two McLarens, and here now comes Lewis Hamilton. By the way, we're now on 1,400 viewers watching live. Thank you guys so much. Again, if you are new, don't forget to subscribe and smash the like. And if we can, let's keep growing those viewers. As here comes Charles Leclerc. Here comes Sebastian Vettel. So the two Ferraris now on track. Pierre Gasly has come back in. I think he's calling it a day in the Red Bull. Yep, now 2 minutes left. No, Gasly is coming back out again on track. But yeah, 2 minutes to go in Q3. Can Ferrari somehow put Mercedes off pole position? Can they do it? They need to. If they want to win a race this season, they really need to get pole at this track if they're going to win this weekend. Let's see if they can do it, as the two Ferraris are about halfway through their outlaps. And here comes Leclerc into the hairpin. Swings it through the hairpin. And now gets ready to start his lap. Nico Hülkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo have now started their lap. And here comes Valtteri Bottas to start his final attempt in qualifying 3. In the final part of qualifying with 1 minute to go. Can Bottas get pole? Turns it into 3. And car looking better balanced than it was in the first run through those sets of corners. Chucks it in. Car looking good. Now comes to the middle sector. Bottas a 1/10.5 down though, and locks up the inside front and goes slightly wide. As Lewis Hamilton already a 10th up on his previous best in the first sector. Here comes Bottas through turn 8 and 9. Now up to turn 10, the turn 10 hairpin. As Valtteri currently 4/10 down on Hamilton and locks up. So Bottas really is not going to be on the front row, as Lewis Hamilton is still a 10th up on his best time and looks as though he will get pole. Leclerc is just under a 10th down on Hamilton. Hülkenberg goes back up to P4 as the session is now over. Here comes Valtteri Bottas, DRS wide open. Where will Valtteri Bottas go? He goes P5. What a terrible lap as Daniel Ricciardo goes P3. What a lap as Lewis Hamilton goes faster again. Here comes Charles Leclerc, P3. What can Sebastian Vettel do? Yes, he's done it. Pole position for Ferrari. Forza Ferrari, a 1:10.2. A new lap record, but Daniel Ricciardo, P4. What an incredible end to qualifying. As I told you guys, qualifying in Canada is very exciting. Gasly now goes faster than Bottas. Bottas has ended up in P6. Incredible stuff. Wow. And let me now just illustrate with the text that qualifying is over. But what an end. What an end to qualifying. Vettel getting his first pole position in Formula 1 since the 2018 German Grand Prix, and is Sebastian back to his best. We'll see tomorrow, but that's his 5th pole position around the streets of Montreal. Let me do the order and see what you guys are saying on the chat. I know you guys are right now going absolutely mental, no doubt about that. So Hamilton is 2nd, Charles Leclerc is 3rd, Daniel Ricciardo, P4. That guy deserves a medal for what he's done today. P4 in a Renault. Where has that come from? Gasly, P5. Bottas, P6. Hülkenberg, P7. What a mixed up grid that is. And then you've got P8, Lando Norris. Carlos Sainz, for some reason, didn't come out on track in 9th, and then Magnussen is 10th. And that is your final order of qualifying today. Wow, one end to qualifying that was. That is why we love qualifying days in Formula 1. As now Vettel parks up as the pole position man That was a spectacular end. I'm going to have to calm down for a few minutes. That really was a great end to the session. Let me know, guys, in the chat. What did you think of that? What did you think at the end of that session? That was the best end to a qualifying session we have had in quite a long time. As Sebastian Vettel returns with the finger has returned. And I know all you Vettel fans and all you Ferrari fans are going to be over the moon, but can Ferrari get the job done tomorrow? You have to say Vettel pulled out a great lap. He was 0.2 faster than anyone else. And here he is on your screen. Sebastian Vettel. Pole position for Ferrari. First pole of 2019 and first pole in almost a year. Oh, right. That was a hectic one. Nib saying Ricciardo ahead of both Red Bulls. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, I definitely have to calm down. That was an incredible end to the session. Kurt Borman saying Sebastian Vettel, what a lap. That's the best Sebastian Vettel we have seen since that costly error at Hockenheim. That's the best Vettel we have seen in a while. And yet the chat now going absolutely crazy. Ricciardo only 1/10 of a second behind Leclerc. Yeah, Ricciardo, you have to say, maybe Daniel is the driver of the day, but at least in the top 2 drivers of the day, you have to say is Daniel Ricciardo. P4 in a Renault. P4 in a Renault. Wow. And he, by the way, yes, Max Verstappen was knocked out, but he still had to beat Gasly and Valtteri Bottas in a Mercedes to get that. Wow. What a lap. I want to see Daniel Ricciardo's lap. Right, let me see what you guys have to say. Candice Diaz saying, we love you, Vettel. Ray saying, P4, wow, Daniel. Crystal Racing saying, well done, Ricciardo. Tomorrow, Hamilton going to chase Vettel when he'll get a puncture, I just saw there. Nicholas Ferreira saying, Vettel on or in pole position. Yes. Avocado P4. ET says, big time Hamilton fan here, but what a brilliant result for Seb. At least it looks like we are going to have a real race tomorrow. A real race tomorrow. Ferrari 7 F1 needed that result today. And go Ricciardo. Yes, absolutely. Go Daniel Ricciardo. And that is the result we need to have a good race tomorrow. And I think we are in for an epic race tomorrow after that. Because you can bet your bottom dollar that Bottas is going to have to give it everything to get onto the podium. And Hamilton, if he wants to win, he is going to have to give it everything to beat Ferrari, who do look very quick. Oh, still having to calm down from that. By the way, thank you guys so much for the new record viewership for a qualifying or any stream on this channel of almost 1,600 viewers. Wow. Thank you guys so much. Every person who has watched today, I thank you so much for watching. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you are a subscriber, thank you guys for tuning in. Great to have you along. But yeah, just what a qualifying session that was. And if the race is anywhere near as good as that or better, then yeah, you better get strapped in for tomorrow, because it's going to be an hour and a half of chaos and excitement. But I think now what I'll do is for the next 20 to 30 minutes with you guys, I will react again with you to what's happened in qualifying today. So in the chat right now, react with me how you or what you thought of qualifying. What do you think about Ferrari getting pole and Vettel getting pole for the first time in almost a year? What do you think about Bottas bottling? What do you think about Daniel Ricciardo getting P4 in a Renault? What do you think about Max Verstappen in P11? Kimi Räikkönen and P17. Let me know in the chat, what did you think of that session? And I'll read out as many comments as I can. Can't promise I'll read out every single one. I probably won't. But I'll try to read out as many as I can before the end of the stream. So now, let's get into reading some comments. By the way, to the people thanking me for the stream, thank you for watching. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you guys as well. So now, let's take a look at what you guys have to say. JB says, what were you saying, Chaz, about Ferrari earlier today? Yeah, I know I was wrong. I was hoping I was wrong, to be honest. But I thought Mercedes, and even after that first run in Q3, I thought they had it. I thought Mercedes had what it took to get pole. But in that final sector, Ferrari produced an incredible final end to the lap to get pole. So well done to Ferrari. And it really is good for Formula One, because now we will get a battle at the top and a great battle for the podium. And can Daniel Ricciardo maintain that sort of position? Make sure to join us tomorrow for the race watch along and see. I'll be having on our native Australian on, and I'm sure he'll be massively pumped up for tomorrow's race. Now he'll be so excited. He'll be like a kid on Christmas morning, will Nib, for the race watch along. Dan O'Caro says, I'm surprised Ricciardo beat Hulk that bad. Shows his craft quality. Hulk isn't a pushover. Jorge Lopez says, tomorrow will be Leclerc's day. Stellar lap by Ricciardo, says Trotters. Absolutely. Thank you, Tribal, for saying thank you for the broadcast. No problem. Again, thank you guys for watching. Thomas Hill asks, will Magnussen start 10th, or is there a gearbox penalty? Well, it's not announced right now if he does have a penalty, but most likely he will, because he completely ripped off the rear of his car. Gasly dropped soon possibly, says or asks Gina. You say that, but I think today he did all right. I mean, did he do anything special? No. And I think getting out qualified by Ricciardo is embarrassing for him, but he did out qualify Bottas, so I guess, you know, works both ways. But Valtteri Bottas' World Championship hopes have just gone completely, for now, because of course anything can happen at the Canadian Grand Prix on race day. But for now, Valtteri Bottas' championship hopes are really going down the toilet. Right, let me find some more comments. The next 15 minutes or so. Sarah Gara says, I've just missed it. It's just gone up off the screen. But it is true. It's about damn time Sebastian Vettel showed that kind of performance. And it is. It's about damn time Sebastian Vettel did that. That's the Vettel we know and love. That's the Sebastian Vettel we want in Formula One. So we can have, you know, great battles in the sport. And thankfully, it looks like the best Sebastian Vettel has appeared for this weekend so far. But, by the way, I will put up one final picture on the screen in a moment of the final results in qualifying. Once that appears, I'll put it up on the screen, and then you guys will know what the results are and what the lap times are. By the way, we did not, unfortunately, get into the 1 minute 9s, but we did have a new lap record of a 1 minute 10.2. Thank you, John Hubner, for coming along, saying Saturday night, got a roll, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I know you've been very, very, very pessimistic about this season, but hopefully that's made you feel a bit happier. Luca asks, is Bottas cracking under pressure? Possibly. His final lap, when you look at it on board, I mean, he did lock up a couple times his inside front tyre, and the person holding that tie of Sebastian Vettel, I know is a YouTuber. I can't remember her name, but she's a massive YouTuber. I can't remember her name though. Yeah, his Valtteri Bottas's final run was not good, but it wasn't absolutely terrible. I mean, he locked up and went wide a couple times and probably cost himself, what, a quarter of a second? But he wasn't going to be on the front row anyway. He just didn't have the pace. I think the best he could have got is probably P3, which would have been all right considering, you know, what Ferrari did. But yeah, Bottas, yeah, cracking under pressure a bit at the end there. No doubt about that. Right, I'll read some more comments in a minute. Let me just see if I can put the results on the screen for you guys. And yes, I can. So let me just get rid. Well, let me not get rid of the qualifying is over bit, but I'll get rid of this a moment and post the final picture of the stream, and that is the final classification of qualifying. Let me just get it up for you guys so you know what the order is, and I'll read it out for you guys as well. So there you go, and let me enlarge it, and there you go. So getting pole position for the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix for the first time in almost a year, getting his pole position, Sebastian Vettel for Ferrari, Ferrari's first pole since Bahrain. Lewis Hamilton in second, Charles Leclerc third, Daniel Ricciardo fourth. Wow, wow, wow. I can't even describe to you how amazed I was when I saw Ricciardo at one point in P3. P3 at one point. That was unbelievable to see. Then, Gasly P5, Bottas P6, Hülkenberg P7, P8 Norris, and Daniel Ricciardo's smile at the moment is as wide as it has ever been in 2019. Hülkenberg P7, Norris P8, Sainz P9. Sainz will be disappointed there. I think Carlos would have been at least hopeful to get ahead of Lando Norris in the other McLaren. Then Magnussen 10th, Max Verstappen P11, disaster for him. Danny Kvyat P12, Antonio Giovinazzi decently in P13, and Albon and Grosjean 14th and 15th. And then knocked out in Q1 was Perez, Raikkonen, surprisingly, Stroll, the home driver, and then Russell and Kubica. So there you go, that's your final order for qualifying. And yeah, for the next 10 minutes, I will read out the rest of your comments to see what you guys have to say again as we continue to react to that amazing end to qualifying. Nib saying it's true, he can't wipe that smile off his face. He literally couldn't wipe it off his face. You're absolutely right. Let me look at the comments. Sebastian, great to see you. Ferrari fan says Vettel was incredible today. Leclerc quite disappointing as he was only 90 miles second behind in the last sector. Bottas disappointing. Best qualifying for the season. Get in. Exciting race tomorrow. Yep, it will be exciting tomorrow. I think we are in definitely for a better race than last year in Canada. I don't think we're in for a great race, but I think we are in for a good race. Something that will definitely conjure up some different emotions, shall I say, during the Grand Prix. Mike says, thanks for the broadcast. No problem, mate. Thank you for tuning in. And if you are new, don't forget to subscribe. Leclerc was okay, says Seirugara. I mean, if you look at the time on the screen, if you look at the far right lap time, which is the Q3 lap time, look how far off Leclerc was. That's what, half a second off? So you have to say Leclerc, in terms of his final attempt, his lap time was quite poor. Position-wise, I think Leclerc did well, but I think lap time-wise, he really could have been better than that. I mean, to be that far off his teammate is not embarrassing, but definitely not good for Leclerc. But in terms of position, good enough. And I think we have to say Charles Leclerc does tend to be a better race driver than qualifying driver. So don't count out Charles Leclerc for the race tomorrow, because he could really be in there with Vettel and Hamilton. Right, let's see what you guys have to say. Renault party mode on their engine is strong, says Matt Hilder. Has to be. Absolutely has to be. Max is best. Greetings from Holland. Well, wasn't best today, but that's not because of himself. That's because his team took a unnecessary risk, I think. Car Freak and other people are asking what my early predictions are for the race. I'm not going to give them right now. One, because I want to wait until the race watch along build up, but also I have no idea right now who's going to win tomorrow. It could be either one of the top three there. Or if we get a safety car at the right time, you never know, Verstappen or Bottas could come into it. So right now, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. I will say Mercedes on race pace are a lot stronger than Ferrari. Now, we'll see if that plays a factor tomorrow and whether that translates tomorrow. But one thing that's interesting to know is that when Hamilton is racing Vettel tomorrow, Hamilton doesn't have to risk, going for a crazy move on Sebastian Vettel. Meanwhile, Vettel has nothing to lose in the Ferrari. So Hamilton's not going to take, a ton of risks because he doesn't have to. I think Vettel will give it everything to beat Hamilton tomorrow. But Hamilton, maybe not so much. Of course, he'll try to win the race, but he won't, go for an absolutely crazy move around the outside of the final chicane or anything like that. Because he knows that if he does get took out or if he crashes on his own, then Bottas gains points. So it's going to be interesting to see, how Hamilton goes at the start and whether he does take a risk of being aggressive with the two Ferraris. It will be interesting to see what happens there. With F1, absolutely agreed. He says Vettel and Ricciardo, the drivers of qualifying. You cannot even doubt that. I would say Ricciardo is the driver of qualifying, only just from Vettel, because Ricciardo's in a Renault and the Renault is a midfield car. I think we do have to remember that Vettel is in, at worst, at times, the second best car most times this season. Ricciardo, as we've seen in the last few races, has struggled, not with his own driving, but has struggled with the lack of pace from the Renault car. So I'd have to say Ricciardo was driver of the day in qualifying, but Vettel a very close second. But those two definitely are the stars of qualifying. Other stars of qualifying, I don't really think there is any other, standout performances. Maybe you could argue Antonio Giovinazzi by out qualifying his teammate Kimi Raikkonen by 4 positions. But yeah, the only standout drivers are Vettel and Ricciardo. But, right, I'm going to read out probably one final comment and then I'll come to the end of the stream. Just to let you guys know, though, as soon as this stream finishes, I'm going to go straight into recording a review of qualifying, and that will be uploaded on the channel in probably the next 45 minutes. I can't say exactly when it'll be uploaded, but it's probably going to be either 9:15 p.m. UK time or 9:30 p.m. UK time. So make sure to stick around for that. And the final comment I'm going to read out is from Robert, who says Hamilton will do exactly what he did with Kimi in Italy last year. Stay under 1 to 2 seconds behind all race. Hopefully this time Vettel will win. Yeah, I think Lewis, he's definitely going to be there for the win. It's going to be a very tight battle for victory, I think, between the top three. And I hope Ferrari are leading after the first lap, because I think that'd make the race even more exciting. But there you go. Guys, thank you so much for this stream. Again, record viewership, almost 1,600 people watching live. Great to have you guys along. Can't thank you guys enough. And again, don't forget to subscribe for the race watch along tomorrow. I'll be going live at 6 PM UK time. That's exactly 1 hour before the race gets underway, and we'll be live for the race. And then we'll be live for about half an hour to 40 minutes after the race finishes as we react to the race. So don't forget to join me for that. And again, don't forget to subscribe for that. Bottom right of the screen, you can do it right there, or go to my homepage, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. Also, like this video and comment down below, what did you think of this video, and also what did you think of qualifying for the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix, the very exciting qualifying session here in Canada. And as well, don't forget to join our Discord server, link below in the description. And as well, follow me on Twitter at Chaz6110. By the way, the Discord server is the best place for notifications to my videos and streams, and is the hardcore Chazza HDF1 community, as we have now over 200 people in that server. And also, don't forget to check out my website, chazzahd.com, for more content like this. But guys, until race day tomorrow for the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix, don't forget to come back here at 6 PM UK time for the race watch along, for build-up, then the race, then the reaction. Until then, it has been me, Chazza HD. Goodbye.